Take two. First off, I don't have any idea how long this video is going to be. I don't have a script, and I never do. So, last time I talked about 10 TV shows, it became 28 minutes. Because that's what it became. That's why I put it in the title. I will likely put the time in the title for this one as well. And when people say, oh, that's too long, people don't like that. The internet doesn't like it. Here's what I've learned over the last 2.5 years with the channel. If you build it, they will come. If you're yourself and if you're just talking, there will be people who want to listen. There will be plenty of people who tune out, but there will be those people who tune in, and they might just stick around. So this channel's past 4,500 subscribers. As this channel picks up momentum, I have no problem producing more content for this channel. That's kind of how it works. And it will not be at the expense of the main channel. It will just mean that I talk about things that aren't just hockey, which honestly feels kind of nice. Now, what I'm going to talk about is 10 shows that started off that I went, I'm not interested. And then I got really interested. Now, what I'm also working on is 10 shows that are highly thought of that I never got into. And a list of 10 shows that had me right away. Right from the very first episode, I went, this is awesome, this is great. And I never lost that feeling. So it's not necessarily going to be my favorite shows of all time, but it's going to be shows that from the start till the finish, I say this is awesome. Now, number 10 on my list of the show became one of my favorites. The IT Crowd. Didn't enjoy it the first time I watched it. Nope. Then I watched it with coworkers, and there's something about watching a show with other people. That we watched episodes together. We worked overnight. So we were working graveyard in an office, and there wasn't really a whole lot for us to do at certain points. We would get our work done pretty quickly, very efficiently, and therefore, rather than just pass out at the desk, why not watch the IT Crowd? And they introduced me to it, and I watched a whole series with them, and not in one night, of course, over a period of a couple weeks. And then we would start making the jokes during our shift. There were things that could be said during the episodes that worked. First couple episodes was like, eh. The episode that won me over was where Moss answers a personal ad, and then finds out that this personal ad was from a man who wanted somebody that he could eat. Now, it's based on a true story that's very, very, very inappropriate. Rammstein wrote a great song about it, but they had so much fun with it. And the answer... Really, here's the thing. So you find out that this guy's a cannibal and that you're his next meal, but he's got a really sweet television in his living room. If you can delay him from wanting to consume you as a meal, are you going to keep going over for that sweet television? And the answer in that episode was, yeah, kind of. And you're kind of going to tell your buddy at work about it, and then you're both going to pretend that it was so funny and inappropriate. And inappropriate very often leads to some of the best humor. Number 9. This one's going to surprise people. Parks and Rec. Honorable mentions in this list are Legends of Tomorrow, V, the new series, and Criminal Minds. V only lasted 2 years, but it was just coming into its own, and then they canceled it. The first series was okay. The second series was actually pretty good, and then they decided to cancel it with all these great cliffhangers, never to be resolved, not even in a TV movie. Criminal Minds, for me, it was kind of slow off the first couple episodes. I know Mandy Patinkin is fantastic. I felt that it really gained momentum as it went along. It's kind of lost some steam over the last couple of years, and it is a show that I can't watch too much of it or it starts messing with my nightmare. I start having dreams about crime scenes, and that's not pleasant. And Legends of Tomorrow gets an honorable mention because at the beginning I was like, really? They got Rory from Doctor Who, dressed him like Doctor Who, and he's a time agent. and it just, it was hard. But now that he's out, it feels like the show's more of its own thing, and it's kind of fun. And yeah, I enjoy Legends of Tomorrow more than I thought I would. But Parks and Rec, I didn't enjoy it at first. And then slowly the dry humor won me over. I think shows without a laugh track with the single cam approach, I think they can be harder to get into but more rewarding. When you have a situation where it's not being filmed in a studio in front of a live studio audience, and in front of a live studio audience makes me kind of go, because there's no way all those laughs are from a studio audience. I'm looking at you, Big Bang Theory. Um, and I think a really funny show doesn't need a laugh track ever. The only exception I can think of where a laugh track kind of made things funnier, Married with Children. Married with Children, the reception Al got was always awesome, and I would often find myself at home kind of cheering for Al. But that's, and now I kind of am Al. Mm. Although I'm not married to Peg, which is good, because although that being said, I always got the feeling Al and Peg anyway. Parks and Rec is an excellent show in its own right. And honestly, I've been looking at getting the entire series and then binge watching the whole series on DVD because on demand it can be tough to find every single episode of every season. So I'm thinking about it. But it's a good show. Number 8. So for those who watched my video yesterday where I talked about shows that lost me, and I talked about Seinfeld. And now Seinfeld, I didn't enjoy the early seasons. I enjoyed a couple of seasons in the middle, and then towards the end it was just unwatchable. Friends kind of went through the same thing. Where in the beginning, the characters were really just stereotypes. They never really got out of the stereotypes, but they at least got funnier. And there were some genuinely funny episodes, genuinely funny moments. When Ross yells, "What's he doing to my sister?" What's he gonna do? Show me my clothes? He's got nothing. Opposite is opposite. The fight over the couch was just great. He steals the cushions. Just all of that stuff is so sophomoric, and I'm like, yeah, guys will have that argument. At the time those episodes were on, I had roommates, two male roommates, and it was funny because after a while of living with guys, almost every conversation ends with, "Do you want to take this outside?" "Yeah, all right." And my answer to a roommate saying to me, "Do you want to take this outside?" was, "Yeah, you go on out ahead and you start without me. I'll be out in a few minutes." And then you just start throwing each other's stuff out. So you'll find like crap on the floor and you go, "Man, that's his stuff. I'm just throwing it in the garbage." And then of course you go, "Yeah, you should throw his stuff in the garbage because it doesn't affect you at all." Friends had that same thing going on. There was that same dynamic and it worked. And it was 3 guys, 3 girls, and it worked. You had kind of every personality type. Towards the end, it really wasn't funny anymore. Ross should not have ended up with Rachel. Rachel should have ended up with Joey. Changed my mind in the comment section, but that's what should have happened. That's where they were headed. And then because they were canceling the series, they quickly threw Ross and Rachel back together. Just so everybody would have the awe moment. Awe moments mean I don't watch a show. Just for the record. Number 7. Andromeda. The first series of Andromeda is hard to get through. Absolutely. The special effects are pretty bad. The Magog are not villains that do a lot other than kind of gross you out. And they get into the whole thing with the Magog, but it becomes something else as the series goes along, and the characters get better. Once the Rev is out, it's kind of better, and that's too bad because the Rev could have been a very interesting character. But Andromeda, as it went along, it became my favorite show. It became the one that I could not miss, and it went 5 years, which is perfect. Sci-fi shows should always go 5 years. That's my theory. That's my belief. 5 years and then out. After 5 years, you've probably run out of ideas. Unless you regenerate your main character every 3 years, in which case you might be good for a while. Number 6. I did a video on this show not that long ago. The Goldbergs. First couple times I tried watching it, this isn't funny. It's just pop culture references. It's not funny. And all of a sudden, I find it hilarious. I don't know how to describe it. I love every episode of the show. The only thing that kind of ticked me was that Jeff chases Erica for the first, 2 seasons, and then all of a sudden she loves him after treating him like he's crap. I don't remember a single time that happened when I was in high school. I grew up in the 80s. I never saw that. I had girls look like Erica treating me like crap all the time. None of them turned around at one point and went, "I think I like you." Nah, that just didn't change. I got stuck in the friend zone by a couple where they'd be like, "Yeah, you're an okay guy. Hopefully someday I can find a guy like you." And of course my answer was, "You know who's like me? Me, I'm like me. Um, but and I sometimes see that with Adam too on the show, and there's a lot of things in the Goldbergs that's actually pretty funny, and the mom is pretty darn near exactly how Smothers work. My mother was never anything like that, but yes, you can have those moments where it feels like you're being smothered by the person who brought you into this world and wants to wrap you in bubble wrap to make sure you don't get hurt. Number 5. Archer. Archer's number 5. Archer's a show that I didn't really like the first time I watched it. Archer was a show that definitely had to grow on me over time. And again, it was one of those things where I don't really have anything to watch. Fine, I'll watch Archer. I don't know. All these people keep telling me to watch Archer. Fine, I'll give it a shot. And then I came across an episode which made me go, "This is great." And I think it was the episode where Archer has amnesia. And so he thinks he's Bob from Bob's Burgers. Now, I love Bob's Burgers, so it was absolutely a perfect match for me, and I absolutely loved it. And from that moment on, then I could go back and watch all the old episodes, and as really politically incorrect as the show gets, it's still really, really funny. And the guy who does the voice of Archer and also does the voice of Bob from Bob's Burgers, now he's doing Arby's commercials. So whenever I hear an Arby's commercial, I want to watch Archer and Bob's Burgers. It's not having the desired effect. I know Arby's wants us to think we have the meats, but all we think is, Lana! I'm not doing the actual scream. I'm not. It's not happening. No. Number 4. Anybody's wondering about the low lighting, it's to try to minimize the amount of whiteboard interference with the computer, or with the webcam. It keeps making it do the refocusing thing. It doesn't like all the white space. That's why there's all the squiggles all the way around it. It seems to be helping, the low light and the squiggles. Community, number 4. I didn't like it. I really didn't. And then suddenly I did. I thought it was really contrived at the beginning. I thought it was really formulaic. But Dan Harmon's writing overcomes that. And I think we see that with Rick and Morty too. Rick and Morty could be an abysmal cartoon. Could be absolutely horrible. But Harmon's comedic touch is fantastic, to the point where you have Rick in a scene watching TV where he controls the society, and what he's telling these people to do on TV exactly describes what happened on Community from when the show started until it went off the air. Cancel it, bring it back. Yeah, cancel it again. I'm done. I think everything that Rick and Morty does is excellent and echoes how great Community was. Community's a show that did probably go on a bit too long. I think when Chevy left, I think that was the time to end it. And of course, Chevy being thrown off the show, I don't agree with how it happened. It sounds to me kind of like it was a setup to get rid of him. But regardless, Community was a great show. I know the cast didn't really get along with Chevy. That was clear. But he's a good actor. And it was a character that they would increasingly make him more and more offensive. And it felt like they made him more offensive just to get him off the show. But I highly recommend watching it if you haven't seen it. Number 3. Now we're into the real nuts and bolts of this. Michael Scott. Michael Scott at the beginning of The Office, not overly funny. Just kind of offensive. But as the episodes go along and Steve Carell seems to get more and more comfortable with the part, Michael Scott becomes absolutely hilarious. When it's Michael Scott's birthday, and Kevin thinks he has cancer, and Michael Scott's reaction is, great. Cancer taking attention away from my birthday. But he's got to suppress that. He has to suppress it. And then Kevin gets the answer of, the x-rays were negative, and Michael's like, oh, great, they're negative. Well, we'll fight this together. And then they show him in the office going, who knew? Who knew that negative was a positive? I didn't know that. Nobody told me that. There are so many moments. The greatest episode of all is when Dwight gets a concussion. and Michael's foot got burnt in the George Foreman grill. I think that was the episode where I realized, okay, this show is something special. It was so amazingly funny, and yeah, from then on, every episode after that, I love it. Even after Michael Scott left, and it did lose a lot. A lot of its heart left. I can still watch the later episodes. I don't enjoy the later episodes as much as I enjoy the earlier ones. I really didn't like Andy, was the problem. The actor who plays Andy, absolutely, he's funny. But Andy, the character, I didn't really like him. And then as the seasons went along and they tried to find more convoluted reasons for conflict, he's just mean. Just mean. And Aaron, and again, I absolutely love the actress, but the character Aaron, it felt like, oh, we need a new Pam. Quick, get a new Pam. Pam was the best, by the way. Pam Beesly, probably the greatest crush of TV at that time. I think every male in the world had a crush on her at that point, minus maybe a few. But Pam was just, she was the ultimate girl next door, everybody's girlfriend, the girl you could bring home to mom, and a very sweet character. And her and Jim, they couldn't keep them apart for very long. They tried. They brought in Karen. Karen was one of those TV tropes that I hate, which is we're going to bring in a character just to keep that couple you like apart. There have been a lot of examples of it, and I need to do a video on that. These characters that get brought in just to keep people apart. I'm looking at you, Priya, on The Big Bang Theory. But yeah, The Office, they had some storylines that were dragged out, like Pam and Jim, but in general, it was a really funny show. Even the later ones where they aren't as funny. Number 2, this one's going to surprise people, but I didn't like the first series. And then the funny thing to me with Red Dwarf is, not only do I like the later seasons, I loved Kachansky. I thought Kachansky was hilarious. And then, I watched the series, and of course it's PBS, right? So you got to watch their pledge drive, and then you watch Red Dwarf. And I watched that series on PBS, in a marathon. Absolutely thought it was so funny. Crichton was on point. Everything in that season was great, and it felt like something new and different. And then I start reading all these reviews years later, and I'm like, I was the only person that liked it. Red Dwarf, to me, got much funnier as the seasons went along. And Ouroboros, I'm saying that wrong probably. Ouroboros is the episode that I absolutely thought was perfect. It is dramatic, it is emotional, and it has its entertaining moments as well. And you learn something that's revolutionary about the whole show, and about Lister and his place in the universe, and it's really amazing overall. So Red Dwarf to me is one of those shows that in the beginning I was like, well, it was British comedy, the crappy BBC special effects. I guess that joke was funny, but the rest of this isn't. And then it just became fantastic. And it is a show that I need to have. At some point, I need to look into getting most of the series. The one Back to Earth, I haven't even watched it. The reviews for that have just been... no. And number 1, last but not least, number 1 on the list, Doctor Who. Do you know how hard it was for me to be convinced to watch Doctor Who? I had to have a Netflix account and have a bunch of time that I had nothing to do with. So I think I had a week off from work. My ex was at work. My kids were both in school. And I was like, I'm just sitting here. Goody. There's only so much video game playing I can do before I say, yeah, I need something else to do. And I decided I'll give Doctor Who a shot. And I had watched old series with Tom Baker. I had watched a couple of the ones from the 80s with Colin Baker, and I thought they were abysmal. And yeah, Colin Baker and Sylvester McCoy really deserved better series. They really, really did. And Colin Baker deserved a more sinister outfit for a more sinister Doctor as well. Come on. That clown outfit they gave him was just ridiculous. And then Sylvester McCoy with the question marks all over the place, and the cane with the question mark handle. So I had that in my mind, and then I loaded up the episode Rose, and I watched, in that week, I think it was 2.5 seasons. I watched it. And if the TV had to be given up to somebody else, I watched it on my computer. Because I was addicted. And I watched 5 seasons of it in, I want to say, a month and a half. Because towards the end of series 4, when I knew the 10th Doctor was going to die, I was heartbroken. I was like, seriously, I can't watch David Tennant go. It was hard enough for me watching Chris Eccleston go. And so I had to watch Asylum of the Daleks to make sure that I was going to enjoy it with another Doctor. So I went all the way to season 7. And then as I got forward in the series and I got to series 6, I had to rewatch Asylum of the Daleks to remind myself why I was watching it at all. Series 6 is still, for me, the absolute worst series of Doctor Who. The pirates, the spot on the hand, and no, none of that. It's just crap. But anyways, Doctor Who does emerge as number 1. Even though right now, I haven't watched last week's episode yet. I know there's another one that I should be wanting to watch. I haven't had any interest in watching it. We finished watching Kidding, which is great. It will be mentioned in my Love at First Sight series I'm going to do on this, but the new Doctor Who, not as much. Let me know which 10 shows or which shows you didn't enjoy at the beginning, and then you were won over. You went, yeah, no, this is actually a great show. It happens. And thank you guys so much for watching if you made it all the way to the end. Applause to you guys. Thank you guys so much. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. You guys are awesome. You make it worth doing this, and I'll talk to you again soon.